The problem with being the only human at Galactic Academy was that everyone assumed you'd be interesting, exotic, even. I was mostly just trying to pass comparative xenobiology so I could finish my exchange credit and go home. Morris, yes? Chitisk stood at the front of Lecture Hall 14, all 8 of his small black eyes focused on me with what I'd learned to recognize as professional academic interest. His segmented dark grey chitin caught the light from the windows overlooking campus. You volunteered to present on human biology today. That's what the sign-up sheet said. The lecture hall had tiered slate grey seating that curved around the central holographic projector. About 30 students from maybe a dozen species filled the seats, most of them taking notes on datapads. The windows showed the campus grounds outside some kind of garden area with plants I couldn't identify. Nalves, the graduate assistant, sat at the equipment console to my left. Her 2 large silver eyes watched me with what might have been concern. The scales on her grey-green skin looked particularly damp today, and her neck gills fluttered slightly as she pulled up my presentation file. "Whenever you are ready," Chitisk said, gesturing with one arm toward the projector while keeping the other on his lecture podium. His bristled tail hung motionless behind him. I connected my datapad, right, so basic human biology. The first slide appeared in the holographic display, a rotating diagram of human muscular structure. Nothing fancy, just standard anatomical reference. Humans are bipedal primates from Earth. We've got an endoskeleton, which I guess is kind of standard for vertebrates. I pointed at the diagram. Skeletal muscles attached to bones via tendons, pretty straightforward. One of the students in the third row raised an appendage. I still wasn't sure what species they were, something with translucent skin and too many joints. "Question already?" I asked. "The musculature appears inefficient," the student said. "Redundant groupings, unnecessary complexity. Yeah, we've got like 640 muscles. Lot of them do similar things." Chitisk tilted his head, which made all 8 eyes shift angles independently. "Redundancy suggests evolutionary compensation for weakness. Or just overkill." I shrugged and moved to the next slide. This one showed the human cardiovascular system. Hearts, veins, arteries, the usual. 4-chambered heart, closed circulatory system. Pumps about 5 liters of blood continuously. I tapped my chest. Beats around 100,000 times per day. Nalves looked up from her console. "That seems excessive. Keeps things running." "But the energy expenditure," she pulled up a comparison chart on her secondary screen. "A brine-worn heart beats approximately 30,000 times per day. We are similar size to humans. Why would you need triple the cardiac activity?" "Probably because we're warm-blooded. Gotta keep the temperature up." A student near the back made a sound like grinding metal. "Your species maintains constant internal temperature regardless of environment?" "Yeah, around 37 degrees Celsius. That is thermodynamically wasteful," Chitisk said, his voice taking on the tone professors use when they've found a teaching moment. "You are essentially running a furnace at all times." "Pretty much." I clicked to the next slide. This one detailed human healing capabilities and immune response. So when we get injured, the body has this whole process. Blood clots to stop bleeding, white blood cells attack foreign material, tissue regenerates over time. I pointed to a diagram showing wound healing stages. Minor cuts heal in a few days. Broken bones take a few weeks. We can recover from some pretty significant damage. The lecture hall had gone quiet. Nalves's gills were fluttering rapidly now. "Your species regenerates bone tissue?" "I mean, yeah. It's not like we grow new limbs or anything, but broken bones knit back together, sometimes stronger than before." "Stronger?" A student in the front row leaned forward. "The damaged area becomes reinforced?" "The body overcompensates during healing, lays down extra calcium around the break site." Chitisk had both arms on his podium now, leaning forward slightly. "Your biology actively improves defensive structures in response to damage." "When you put it that way, it sounds dramatic." "It's just healing." "Just healing?" Nalves repeated quietly. She was typing something on her console, pulling up comparative data. Morris, I am reading that human bone density is significantly higher than most species of similar mass. Is this accurate? Probably. I don't have other species' bone density to compare. Your skeletal structure is designed to withstand impacts that would shatter most biological frames. We fall down a lot, probably needed to adapt for that. I moved to the next slide before anyone could ask more questions. This one covered human sensory systems. 5 main senses: sight, hearing, smell, taste, touch. Vision is binocular, gives us depth perception. Hearing range is about 20 to 20,000 Hz. Smell is okay, but not great compared to some species. Your visual range, a student interrupted. It includes the ability to track rapid movement? Yeah, we can follow fast-moving objects pretty well. Helps with hunting and not getting hit by things. Hunting, Chitisk said softly. Well, historically, not so much anymore. But your species evolved as predators. He wasn't asking. Omnivores, technically. We ate plants too. Omnivores who hunted. Chitisk's bristles on his tail had started to stand up slightly. Continue, please. The next slide detailed human pain tolerance and nervous system function. This was probably where things were going to get weird. Pain receptors throughout the body send signals to the brain when there's damage or potential damage, but humans have this thing where we can kind of ignore it or push through it. Nalves stopped typing. Explain. Like, if you're injured, you still feel the pain, but you can keep functioning, do what needs to be done despite the pain signals. Adrenaline helps. It's a hormone that kicks in during stress and basically overrides some of the pain response. Your body produces a chemical that suppresses damage warnings, Nalves said. Suppresses isn't quite right. More like deprioritizes. The warnings are still there. You just don't have to listen to them. A student with bright orange skin and crystalline growths raised a limb. This adrenaline, it is a combat adaptation? Combat, running away, lifting heavy things off people works for a lot of situations. Heavy things off people, the student repeated. Yeah, there's documented cases of humans lifting vehicles to save someone trapped underneath. The adrenaline lets you access strength you normally couldn't. The lecture hall had gotten very quiet again. Someone in the back was whispering to their neighbor. Chitisk's 8 eyes were all fixed on me now. You are describing a species that can voluntarily access emergency reserves to exceed normal physical limitations. I mean, it's not really voluntary. The adrenaline kicks in automatically when... That is worse. He looked at Nalves. That is significantly worse. I'm just describing basic physiology, I said. Basic, Nalves muttered, still typing. He calls this basic. I clicked to the next slide. Human digestive system and dietary adaptability. Humans can eat a really wide variety of foods. Meat, plants, fungi. Some things that are technically poisonous in small amounts. Our stomach acid is strong enough to break down most organic material. pH around 1.5 to 3.5. Your digestive acid has a pH of 1.5. A student near the middle stood up. That would dissolve metal. Some metals, yeah. It's pretty corrosive. Why would you need industrial-grade acid in your digestive system? To digest tough materials? Animal proteins? Plant cellulose? Also kills a lot of bacteria. Nalves pulled up a new comparison chart. Morris, I am showing that human stomach acid is more corrosive than most known biological compounds. By a significant margin. Huh, didn't know that was special. You carry industrial solvent in your body as a standard feature, Chitisk said. His tail had gone completely rigid now. What else should we know? Well, there's the immune system. I moved to the next slide. White blood cells constantly patrol for foreign material. Bacteria, viruses, parasites. When they find something, they attack it. We've also got a memory component. Once the immune system fights off something, it remembers it and can respond faster next time. Your body maintains an internal military force with archival intelligence capabilities. Chitisk, wasn't using his professor voice anymore. That's a weird way to phrase it, but sure. A student I recognized from the cafeteria spoke up. Is it true that humans can survive diseases that would kill most species? Depends on the disease, but yeah, we fight off a lot of stuff. Common cold, flu, various infections. Most of the time we don't even need medical intervention. Most of the time, Nalves said, meaning sometimes you do require intervention for these common ailments. I mean, sometimes people die from the flu, but usually we just feel bad for a week and then we're fine. Feel bad, while your internal military force wages war against invading pathogens. Right. And then you are fine. Yeah. Nalves looked at Chitisk. Chitisk looked at Nalves. Something passed between them that I didn't understand. Morris, Chitisk said carefully, how many slides remain in your presentation? I checked my datapad. 4 more. We haven't gotten to the respiratory system, temperature regulation, or endurance capabilities yet. Endurance capabilities, he repeated. Yeah, like how far humans can run, how long we can go without food or water, that kind of thing. Of course, that kind of thing. Chitisk returned to his podium and gripped it with both arms. Please continue. The next slide showed human respiratory capacity and oxygen efficiency. Humans need to breathe constantly, obviously. We process oxygen to fuel cellular respiration. But we can hold our breath for a while if needed. Trained individuals can go several minutes. Some people do it for sport. Sport, a student said faintly. Yeah, free diving. Seeing how deep you can go underwater on one breath. Your species voluntarily suffocates for recreation, Nalves said. We don't actually suffocate, we just hold our breath, while diving to depths that would crush most organisms. Well, not crush exactly. Pressure equalization is. Please move to the next slide, Chitisk interrupted. This one detailed human thermo-regulation. I was starting to sense this wasn't going well. Right, so temperature regulation. Humans maintain that 37-degree internal temperature through a bunch of mechanisms. When we're too hot, we sweat excrete water through our skin, which evaporates and cools us down. When we're too cold, we shiver. Rapid muscle contractions generate heat. You excrete liquid through your skin, someone said. Just the sweat glands, not the whole. You have glands dedicated to excreting liquid. For cooling purposes, yeah. Nalves was pulling up more data. The evaporative cooling system, how effective is this? Pretty effective. Humans can function in temperatures up to around 50 degrees Celsius for short periods. 50 degrees. Her gills had stopped moving entirely. That would denature most proteins. External temperature, not internal. We keep the inside at 37. Yes. Using your built-in furnace and industrial cooling system. I wouldn't call sweat an industrial cooling system. I would, she said flatly. A department head I'd seen around campus appeared in the doorway of the lecture hall, tall, thin, covered in fine blue fur. He looked at Chitisk, who gestured toward me with one arm. Morris is presenting on human biology, Chitisk explained. I see. The department head stepped inside and stood near the back. Please continue. Great, now I had an audience. I clicked to the second to last slide. Human endurance and persistence. So humans aren't the strongest species or the fastest species, but we've got pretty good endurance. We can run for hours if we're in decent shape, walk for days. Some humans do ultramarathons running 100 miles or more. 100 miles, Nalves said. That is 160 kilometers. About that, yeah. Running. Well, running and jogging. Lot of it is pacing. Chitisk had both arms pressed flat against his podium now. Your species can maintain locomotive activity for distances that most species would require mechanical transport to cover. If you're trained for it, not everyone can run 100 miles, but some can. Yeah. Why would evolution favor such extreme endurance? Persistence hunting, probably. Early humans would just chase prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. The lecture hall went completely silent. The department head stepped forward. Chase prey until it collapsed. Yeah, it's called persistence hunting. We're not fast. but we can keep going long after other animals tire out. Plus, we can sweat, so we don't overheat like prey animals do. Eventually they just stop, and then we catch them. You hunted by inducing psychological exhaustion in your prey, the department head said slowly. And physical exhaustion. But yeah, basically. Nalves looked like she was having some kind of crisis. Her scales had gone darker, and her gills were fluttering so fast they were almost vibrating. Morris, Chitisk said quietly, how many slides do you have remaining? Just one. What is the topic? Pursuit predator adaptations and pack hunting strategies. Every eye in the lecture hall focused on me. You know what? Chitisk said. Perhaps we should take a brief recess before the final slide. It's not that long, I insist on a recess. I looked at the frozen faces staring at me from the tiered seating, at Nalves's trembling gills, at the department head's rigid posture, at Chitisk's completely motionless tail. Sure, I said. Recess sounds good. The recess lasted approximately 4 minutes before Chitisk called everyone back. The students filed into their seats with the energy of people attending their own funeral. Nalves had moved from her console to stand near the department head, both of them watching me like I might spontaneously demonstrate pursuit predator behavior. Morris, Chitisk said from his podium, before you present your final slide, I have some questions. Sure. The persistence hunting you described, this is documented human behavior? Historically, yeah. Some cultures still practice it. Still practice it, he repeated, as in, currently. It's traditional in some regions, not common, but it happens. Nalves pulled up something on a datapad. I am reading an account of a human hunter pursuing a kudu, that is a quadrupedal prey animal, for 8 hours across savanna terrain in 40-degree heat. Sounds about right. The kudu collapsed from heat exhaustion and cardiovascular failure. The human was tired but functional. Well, yeah, that's the whole point of persistence hunting. A student in the front row raised a limb. You are describing torture. No, I'm describing hunting. You psychologically and physically destroyed an animal over the course of 8 hours. The animal was food. That's how hunting works. The department head stepped forward slightly. Most predator species kill quickly. Ambush, venom, overwhelming force. You are describing systematic exhaustion as predation strategy. Humans aren't built for quick kills. We're built for outlasting things. That is horrifying, someone in the back said. It's efficient, I said. Uses our advantages: endurance, thermoregulation, bipedal locomotion for distance travel. Chitisk's bristles had fully extended now. Bipedal locomotion aids in persistence hunting. How? Frees up the arms for carrying tools and water, more energy efficient for long distances than quadrupedal movement, better sightlines across terrain. You evolved to chase prey across long distances while carrying equipment and coordinating with other humans. Pack tactics. The lecture hall somehow got quieter. Pack tactics, the department head said. Yeah, humans are social hunters. We coordinate. One group drives prey toward another group. Or we take turns chasing, so the prey never gets to rest. Communicate with language to update strategy in real time. Nalves was typing frantically. You hunted in coordinated groups with verbal communication and strategic planning. That's what I just said, Morris. She looked up from her datapad. Do you understand what you are describing? Hunting? You are describing military operations, coordinated pursuit, strategic communication, systematic exhaustion of the target, adaptive tactics. Her gills were moving so fast they were a blur. You are describing warfare applied to food acquisition. That seems dramatic. Does it? The department head moved closer to the holographic projector. Please show us your final slide. I clicked the remote. The last slide appeared a diagram showing human skeletal structure optimized for distance running, with notes on binocular vision, sweat glands, and pack communication. Pursuit predator adaptations, I read from the title. Humans evolved as persistence hunters, using a combination of physical and cognitive advantages to outlast prey. Key adaptations include... "Stop," Chitisk said. I stopped. Everyone sees the slide. Everyone understands the basic premise. He looked at his class. Does anyone have questions for our human guest? Every appendage in the room went up. Great, I muttered. Chitisk pointed to a student with crystalline skin in the third row. The binocular vision, they said. This provides depth perception for tracking moving targets across distance. Yeah, helps judge how far away something is while chasing it. And the forward-facing eyes are a predator trait. Usually, yeah. Prey animals tend to have eyes on the sides of their heads for wider field of view. Another student spoke up without being called on. What is the maximum distance a human can track prey? Depends on terrain and conditions, but if you can see it, you can probably track it. See it from what distance? Humans can see objects kilometers away if there's nothing blocking the view. Nalves looked up sharply. Kilometers? Yeah, like if you're in open terrain, you can spot prey from pretty far off. And then you chase it for hours. If needed. A student near the back leaned forward. The pack coordination you mentioned. How many humans typically hunted together? Depends on the prey. Small game, maybe 1 or 2. Large dangerous animals, could be a dozen or more. A dozen, Chitisk said quietly. A dozen humans coordinating pursuit of a single target. For big prey, yeah, safety in numbers. Safety, he repeated. You needed numerical advantage against your prey because they were dangerous. Some of them, sure. Humans hunted things that could kill us if we weren't careful. The department head had pulled out his own datapad. Morris, I am reading that early humans hunted megafauna, animals several times their mass. Is this accurate? Yeah, like mammoths and stuff. Big herbivores. You hunted animals that massed several tons. In groups, with planning. Not like a one-on-one fight. No, you employed systematic exhaustion, strategic coordination, and numerical superiority. He looked at Chitisk. This is extraordinary. This is nightmare information, a student said. I frowned. It's just hunting. Lots of species hunt. Lots of species hunt prey smaller or similar in size to themselves, Nalves said. Using speed or venom or strength advantage, you hunted prey that could crush you by stepping on you. That's why we use tactics. Tactics. You use tactics. She set down her datapad. Morris, do you understand that most predator species rely on instinct? Ambush points, pack hierarchy, territorial behavior, these are evolved patterns, not conscious strategy. Okay? Humans plan hunts, you analyze terrain, predict prey behavior, adapt tactics based on conditions, communicate complex strategies verbally. Her scales had darkened to almost charcoal. You applied intelligence to predation. Well, yeah, we're intelligent. Why wouldn't we use that? The student with orange skin spoke up. Because it is terrifying. Most predators are limited by their biology. You removed those limitations through cognitive ability. I mean, we're still limited by biology. We can't fly or breathe underwater or... You run until your prey dies of exhaustion, Chitisk interrupted. You coordinate in groups using complex language. You persist through pain and injury via chemical override. You maintain pursuit for hours or days. You plan, adapt, and problem-solve while hunting. All 8 of his eyes fixed on me. What, exactly, limits you? Lots of things. We need food, water, sleep. We can get injured. We're not that strong compared to... You heal from injuries that would be permanently debilitating to most species, Nalves said. Your immune system fights off diseases that would be fatal. You function in temperature ranges that would kill most organisms. You have internal chemical systems that suppress pain and unlock emergency strength reserves. When you list it like that, it sounds... Apex predator characteristics, the department head said. He was reading something on his datapad. I am cross-referencing your presentation with the xenobiology definition of apex predator. Humans meet every single criterion. Wait, really? No natural predators, check. Top of food chain, check. Adaptation specifically for hunting, check. Ability to pursue and kill prey significantly larger than self, check. He looked up. Humans are definitionally apex predators. A student stood up. But humans don't look like apex predators. You are not heavily armored. You have no natural weapons. You are relatively small. Yeah, exactly, I said. We're not that scary. You are persistence predators who used cognitive ability to compensate for physical limitations, Chitisk said. That is significantly more frightening than natural weapons. How? Because natural weapons are predictable. Claws have a specific range. Venom has specific effects. Size provides specific advantages. His tail had gone completely rigid. Cognitive ability has no ceiling. You solve problems. You adapt. You overcome limitations through innovation. I mean, sure, humans are pretty good at problem solving. Pretty good, Nalves muttered. He says pretty good. The department head was still reading. It says here that humans are currently the dominant species on their home planet. They have no natural predators and have driven several competing species to extinction. That's mostly habitat loss and climate change, I said. Not active hunting. You altered the climate of your entire planet? Not on purpose. Every being in the lecture hall stared at me. Not on purpose, the department head repeated slowly. You accidentally altered planetary climate. It's complicated. Industrial revolution, carbon emissions, feedback loops. You industrialized to the point of affecting planetary systems. He looked at Chitisk. They terraformed their own planet by accident. That's not what terraforming. Morris, Chitisk raised one arm. Please stop helping. A student near the middle raised a limb. If humans are apex predators, why are you here? At an academy, learning? Because I want to pass xenobiology and finish my exchange credit. But you could simply, the student paused. What prevents you from taking what you want? Laws, society, basic decency. Your species developed social structures that suppress predator behavior, Nalves said. She was typing again. You created civilization that restricts natural hunting instincts. Yeah, we don't really hunt anymore. We farm and stuff. You domesticated your food sources. It's more efficient than chasing animals for 8 hours. Efficient, she said faintly. The apex predators optimized food acquisition. Chitisk looked at the department head. Do you need to see anything else? No, I have seen enough. The department head gestured toward me with what might have been respect or might have been fear. Morris, your presentation was very informative. Thank you for volunteering. Did I pass? Pass? The assignment, guest presentation on comparative biology. Oh, yes, full marks. He was already moving toward the door. Chitisk, please send me your notes from this session. I need to update several course materials. Of course. The department head paused at the doorway. Morris, out of curiosity, do you have any other presentations planned? Not for this class. I might do one for interspecies relations next month. What is the topic? Human conflict resolution and diplomacy. His face did something complicated. Perhaps review that material with your instructor before presenting to a class. Sure, okay. He left. The students began packing up their things with unusual speed. Nalves was still typing, muttering something about updating threat assessments. Chitisk approached me as I disconnected my data pad. Morris, that was educational. Thanks. Was it good? It was accurate, which is more important. His 8 eyes studied me for a moment. I have a question. Yeah? When you described persistence hunting, you seemed entirely casual about it. Do you truly not understand how disturbing that behavior pattern is to most species? I thought about it. I mean, it's just part of human history. We evolved for it, but we don't do it anymore. Seems like ancient history. Ancient history that shaped every aspect of your biology and behavior, he said quietly. Morris, humans are the first true apex predators I have encountered that developed civilization. Most species with that level of predatory advantage remain solitary or form small hierarchical groups. You built societies, created art, pursued knowledge. His bristles settled slightly. It is remarkable and deeply unsettling. Thanks? You are welcome. He returned to his podium. Same time next week. We will be covering symbiotic relationships. Please let someone else volunteer. Sure thing. I gathered my things and headed for the door. Nalves caught up with me in the corridor outside. Morris, wait. I stopped. Yeah? I need to verify something. She pulled out her datapad. The ultra-marathon running. The 100-mile distances. Is that actually recreational for humans? Some humans, not me personally. But humans do it for sport, for enjoyment. Yeah, some people like the challenge. Her gills fluttered. Your species runs distances that would require mechanical transport for most organisms, and you do it for fun. Guess so. And the persistence hunting that still occurs. In some traditional communities, yeah. Mostly humans get food from stores now. Stores. Yeah, where we buy food that other humans produced. You cooperatively produce and distribute resources. That's what agriculture and economy are, yeah. She stared at me for a long moment. Morris, I need you to understand something. When I enrolled in this xenobiology course, I expected to learn about different species adaptations. Interesting biological variations. Academic curiosities. Okay? I did not expect to discover that apex predators developed agriculture and philosophy. Humans aren't that weird. Morris. Her scales had gone almost black. Yes, you are. She walked away quickly, leaving me standing in the corridor. Through the open door of the lecture hall, I could hear Chittisk talking to the remaining students. Remember, exam next week will cover predator classifications. Pay special attention to the persistence predator category. We will clearly be adding a significant case study to that section. I checked my schedule. 3 more weeks of xenobiology, then I could go home. Probably should have picked an easier presentation topic.